Ever wonder where your favorite meme really came from? Or how that pop song that's been stuck in your head for weeks was actually put together? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the art of the remix. We're diving into the hidden history behind pretty much everything that defines our digital world.
So let's start with a little bit of a puzzle. You've got a viral GIF, right? And a TikTok dance. And a massive chart-topping pop song. On the surface, they seem totally different, but believe it or not, they're all connected by one single incredibly powerful idea. And that idea is they are all forms of audiovisual recycling. It's kind of the secret ingredient powering our entire modern culture. It's the engine that's always running in a world where everything, it seems, is a commentary on or a remix of something that came before it. So what is it exactly? Well, to put it simply, audiovisual recycling is just the creative practice of taking stuff that's already out there, images, sounds, you name it, and using all of that as raw material to build something brand new. It's all about seeing the old with fresh eyes.
But to really get how we got here, we've got to go back in time, way back. Long before the internet even existed, a bunch of rebellious artists in the early 20th century were already playing around with this idea, transforming everyday trash into artistic treasure.
And you can see how this whole revolution unfolded right here. It kicks off in 1913 when Marcel Duchamp's ready-made concept just completely shatters the art world. At the same time, you've got Dada and Surrealist artists making these wild photo montages that kind of mirrored the chaos of the modern world. And then, in the 20s, an art historian named Aby Warburg created his Minasuin Atlas, which proved you could create totally new meanings just by placing different images next to each other. Now, to really understand this, you have to know the difference between two key ideas. First, you have a found object. That's like a cool seashell or a piece of driftwood an artist finds and says, hey, this is art, without changing it much. But a ready-made, that's way more radical. It's a mass-produced thing, like a bottle rack or a piece of plumbing, that an artist just declares is art. It's a move that makes you question what art and even artist really mean. And Duchamp's fountain from 1917 is the ultimate example. I mean, it was a normal store-bought urinal. He just turned it on its side, signed it with a fake name, and tried to enter it into an art show. With one simple act, he challenged centuries of tradition. He didn't make the thing, he chose it. And in that world, the choice itself became the art. Okay, so let's switch gears and jump into the world of sound. Because while all these visual artists were busy recycling objects, musicians were starting to do the exact same thing with sound, and it kicked off a sonic revolution that would change music forever. We call this practice sampling, and really it's just the musical version of a collage. Instead of cutting up pictures from a magazine, you're chopping up little pieces of sound, maybe a drum beat from an old funk record, a horn stab from a jazz song, and you're pasting them together to make a brand new track. And you can trace its path perfectly. It starts in the late 1940s with this French avant-garde stuff called musique concrète, where composers were using recorded sounds from everyday life as their orchestra. Then, boom, 1966. The Beatles bring it into the mainstream with those crazy experimental tape loops on their album Revolver. And by the late 70s, hip-hop pioneers in the Bronx were turning the turntable itself into a full-blown instrument, creating new music live for the dance floor. Now, for a long time, sampling was still a pretty underground thing. But then, 1986 happened. This was the year that one groundbreaking collaboration took all these ideas and just blasted them into the mainstream, changing pop music for good. This hit was a total cultural explosion. You had the iconic, undeniable guitar riff from Aerosmith's Walk This Way, you had the powerful, revolutionary rhymes of Run DMC, and you had a music video that literally had them smashing down the wall between rock and hip-hop. It was more than a sample. It was a full-on cultural collision.
The result of all this? The song went all the way to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. I mean, this was absolutely massive. All of a sudden, hip-hop wasn't just some niche genre anymore. It was a dominant cultural force. And it was all thanks to one brilliant act of musical recycling.
Okay, so we've seen how artists and musicians have been recycling and remixing for decades. But what about filmmakers? Well, it turns out they've got their own incredibly powerful way of cutting and pasting reality. It's called the montage. Yeah, in the world of movies, the ultimate remixing tool is the montage. It's this rapid-fire sequence of shots that can bend time, build insane amounts of suspense, and transform a character right before our very eyes. It's a straight-up storytelling superpower. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've seen it a million times. It's the classic training montage. I mean, just think of Rocky, this down-and-out boxer who becomes a champion in the space of one song. We see him running through Philly, punching frozen meat, and then finally raising his arms in triumph at the top of those museum steps. That's the power of montage.
This whole technique is so deep in our culture that it's become this beloved trope, and of course, a perfect target for parody. This amazing, self-aware song from the movie Team America just breaks it down perfectly, and the fact that we all get the joke, it just shows you how universal the language of montage has become.
And that brings us right back to today. The internet and all this digital technology we have, it's taken all those earlier forms of recycling, the ready-made, the sample, the montage, and just put them on steroids. These tools that were once for specialists were suddenly handed to anyone with a computer, and that opened the floodgates to the age of the endless remix.
And the perfect format for this digital age is the mashup. A mashup takes two or more things, usually from genres that have no business being together, and smashes them into something totally new and surprising. The real thrill is in that collision of different worlds.
What's so wild is how this idea just refused to stay in its lane. The concept was so powerful that in the late 2000s, it actually jumped from music into the super traditional world of book publishing, and it created a whole new, bizarre genre.
And the results were, well, they were nuts. All of a sudden, you had Jane Austen's classic characters fighting off zombie hordes. Tolstoy's tragic heroines were dealing with robot vampires. It basically proved that any story, no matter how sacred we think it is, could become raw material for a remix.
So after this whole century-long journey, from the quiet art gallery to the loud DJ booth to our own laptop screens, where does that leave us? Let's just step back for a second and think about what all this really means.
When you look at it from the rebellious art of the Dadaists all the way to the silly memes that fill our social media feeds, it's pretty clear that recycling has become the language of our time. It's how we make sense of the world, it's how we connect with each other, and it's how we create new things out of the old. You know, in a way, we're all remix artists now.
Which leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to chew on. In a world of infinite copies, where any image or any sound can be grabbed and repurposed in a split second, what does it truly mean to be original anymore? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining me.